there is heritage in everything that you see around you, which is in your eyes worthy of making a legacy. Like a silver की थाली जो मेरी नानी माँ की है, जिसमें मैं आज भी खा रही हूँ, is heritage. From utensils to a cupboard, every piece of thing that's around you has a certain amount of heritage in it. An old pashmina is also heritage.
Welcome to Conversations with Heritagewale. This is Smita Babar. We believe that the word Heritagewale represents us all. The aim of these conversations is to explore multiple dimensions of this vast term called heritage and to understand why and how some of us Heritagewale have been engaged with it in the most remarkable ways. Today, we have Neha Parulekar with us. Neha is an urban conservation architect, teacher, and home cook. She is about to complete 10 years in the field of heritage conservation with the firm Abha Narain Lambah Associates. A visiting faculty and lecturer at various reputed institutions, a home cook who loves feeding traditional dishes to the world, a wanderer, and a Mumbaikar at heart, Neha Parulekar. Hello everyone. Neha has joined us today. A very warm welcome to you, Neha. How are you?
Hi, good.
So good to hear that. So, Neha, my first question to you is about your early life. Where were you born and raised?
So I'm a full-on Mumbai girl. My parents, in fact, have fallen in love in the same colony in Mumbai. That's where I was born. I was actually born in the heart of the city. So I was born in Mahim, between the suburbs and the city. But ever since I was a kid, I was always, told to go out and look at things. So even if it means that I might want to call myself a pampered child, not because of the monetary aspect of things. My parents were not very well to do, to give me materialistic things. But if I wanted to have, lunch in my steel plate, which was dal and rice, my parents did take me by bus to Worli Seaface, from Mahim, and we sat there. We had food out of that plate and came back. So it's about. I think they taught me that everything has a feel to it. Everything is a scene. And because of that, I'm a big, fairy tale addict. I just grew up watching Disney. I grew up, by the sea because my building was right next to the sea. My parents were both working. My dad is an engineer, my mother a banker. So I was brought up not only by them, but also my grandparents, who were very much there for me until very, very late in life till I lost them. My uncle, who used to live with us back then, and he would take me. So my entire childhood is about tales in my head where I'm going from one place of the city to the other, and I'm literally a wanderer, and I think that is a huge part of what I am today.
I know that you love Bombay a lot. So, do you think that your choice of becoming a conservation architect is influenced by you living in Bombay?
Bombay is the reason, okay, for everything. Uh, it's all it. I think Bombay as a city not only shows you various glimpses of today and yesterday all the time. From one part of the city to another part of the city. Like as a child, I went to Bombay Scottish School, which where I identified that a library has a triangular roof truss. It was like that. So when I go to a library, I need to look up and see how the lights are. So from my schooling, I have always, the experiential idea of things has always been in my head. Bombay, of course, it's funny. We actually call ourselves very. I don't know. I mean, Bombay is a feeling, and I think it's best accepted that way. May it be Sobo, may it be suburbs, whatever it is, Bombay does give you a feel. It's also the pace. It's so fast. Like, my mom is originally from Alibag. My dad is, from Palghar. But when we go there, we can stay there a couple of days, but then, we just want to come back. Of course, I'm sure it's going to change later on in life where you really want to get laid back. But I think to live the way we are, the way we are today is because of this city. It must be expensive. Yes, it's a killer. I mean, I think I pay as much as I earn, but that's the fun of it, I think. So yes, it's influenced me in that way. And apart from that, I think my father is as influential in my life as this city is, and I would like to mention that here because so he was an engineer, and he worked on roadways and bridges. And from a very, very young age, I have a memory of sitting in his office, stealing carbon paper from his boss's table and drawing exactly what he's drawing. And I remember when I was in the sixth standard, somebody asked me in front of my father, what do you want to become? I told them that I think my dad takes instructions from somewhere and makes these bridges. I want to be that person who's going to give him instructions. I want to go one notch up. And, and the solution was if he's an engineer, then I'm an architect. And that's literally what I did. I mean, it's literally what I did. And believe me, the first day of architecture when I went to college, I was like, yuck, what am I doing? I hate this. But no, I was like, no, I need to be better than him. And I literally continued.
That's such a beautiful memory. And of course, it's true, Bombay is a feeling. We all can agree on that. And so, Neha, you ended up going for architecture studies. But then, do you remember a point when you decided that, yes, I want to pursue heritage conservation?
Architecture in our academics, the way architecture has been portrayed, it's architecture is equivalent to design. I don't think so. Uh, if you are if you're an art lover, you can still be an architect. If you're a history lover, you can still be an architect. And you're a design lover, you can still be an architect. So the idea of design being equivalent to architecture, I think, needs to be broken somewhere. And for lucky ones like us, I want to believe that we are lucky. It gets broken down somewhere during this course of architecture. So, of course, like any other crazy person like me who is in conservation, they must have loved history. I loved history. Okay. But at that point in time, I had beautiful lecturers. Okay. And I would love to listen to people as well. Conservation was really picking up back then, it was not in full swing. Like today, we can say that it's an established niche in the entire, forum of architecture. But that time it was still very small. There were minimal number of players. And but still, I think so my professor, who was Mustansir Dalvi, uh, he was my history professor, and he never explained history to us with dates. He explained it to us in form. Yeah, I think that makes a very big impact. Visuals, when I, as an architect, as much as I love Jeffrey Bava, I also love the fact that there are structures which were built so many years ago and are standing stronger than what's really being built around me today. So an architect is ideally supposed to create, but the idea of stepping into someone's shoes who created something a couple of hundred years ago and being able to strengthen that for tomorrow is of equivalent pride to me. And that's what I realized that of course you've got to have that angle, and architecture lets you do that. I mean, at any given point in 5 years, you are taught how to create new things, but I think you're not taught enough to how to uh, preserve things. And I think that's where I realized that there is a split in my heart. As much as I want to create, I also want to keep certain things that, so and I think I did that from day one. The day I realized something like that, I think I was only in third year or something, where my sister was 5 years younger to me, but I would drag her to every damn place in the city with me to tell her, see, this is what an arch is. This is the meaning of a facade. This is what you mean by this type of a window, or this is a stained glass. I didn't know that, and I wanted her to know that. I mean, she didn't do anything like what I did in my life in terms of my career. But today, if I asked her, and if I ask her actually to do a material analysis of a building, she'll do it as well as I did. So I think that idea of giving, to let out the information that I have, was somewhere that I realized that I need to uh, go into that field where I can learn more so that I can give more. And I think that's where the idea of conservation really clicked. And I think, that whole idea of the way the whole academic journey was running, I think it kept reinstating the fact to me through these years that, okay, this is not holistically to what I want to do. I want to specialize in something else. And I think my love for and I think as even going backward, as children also, we are nurtured or brought up in a certain way. Like at any given point of time, I remember my parents taking me to Marine Drive. I remember my parents taking me to Bhavdajilad Museum. I remember going to Prince of Wales Museum, and if I think the education system allowed me to think further, I would have probably been an art conservator by now, and not a conservation architect also. Yeah. So I think the exposure, like that's why I love what you're doing, because the idea of architecture and conservation architecture is not that much. There is so much more. I can also be a textile conservator. I can also be, so I think it's that. So your love for heritage or old buildings, we don't even know what heritage means back then. So your love for old buildings combined with how your architecture journey is going, I think it was a process. It was not one eureka moment. I go like, okay, yeah, this is what. Because when I said that I want to do a master's in conservation, there were so many people who were like, huh? What's that? What does that even mean? What are you going to do? And question two was, are you going to earn anything out of this? But I think if your love exceeds that doubt, that doubt wala phase, I think you're good to go.
You rightly pointed out, Neha, that many times people don't really know the difference between different kinds of conservators there are. And but I would say that this picture is gradually changing and it is becoming better. So, Neha, you have such a vibrant personality. You love cooking, you love psychology. So, where did it all begin?
See, I've always been someone who hustles. I don't like to be like, right now I'm sitting here with you, and after this I'm just going to go like run somewhere, because I can't sit in one place, literally. And frankly, when it comes to cooking, like how I sounded like, I must have sounded like a rebel when I said that I want to be one notch up from my father. But that's how I am. That's who I am. And I have accepted that openly. So even as a kid, my mother was, she thought I was a waste. That's what she thought. She thought that, अरे ये तो कुछ भी नहीं कर पाएगी kitchen में. इसको होगा ही नहीं कुछ. So why do you want to go to the kitchen and mess it up? But luckily I've been someone who's always had a cook at home, because mama was working all the time. But along with being a hustler and a rebel, I'm also a very good observer. I have that knack to keep looking at somebody till they feel uncomfortable, but I'm trying to know more about that person and what they're doing. And that pretty much helped me in being able to observe what's going on in my kitchen. I'm someone who loves basic food, dal, rice. You give me every day with aloo fried, and I'm done. Okay, but the kind of cuisines that I kept looking at, because Granny was from Goa, so fish. Dad is a meat lover, so I've tried chicken, though I don't go into mutton and things like that. My mother has a completely different taste palette from her family. So all of these sort of combined, because we were a joint family and lived with my kaka, kaki, grandparents. Everyone was cooking something different, and I observed it. And luckily, with the kind of brain that I have, it stayed. When I got married, and I moved to Daisar. That's the biggest regret I have. But when I moved so far, and commute is one thing that kills you in the city. I knew that I have to do a lot of fending for myself, kind of a situation. So after 2.5 years of being in Daisar, we moved closer to my office space. But the idea of keeping a maid, I didn't have the time to be around a maid to tell her what to do, which is when I started exploring myself in the kitchen. And like a lot of stories that we might hear, the lockdown really, really helped that. So, yeah. So, and like if I get a Saturday and Sunday, like maybe my husband would just like to lie down on the bed and just not do anything. But I'm someone who will get up and go for a cake class or some flower decoration class or whatever. So I kept doing these weird classes, and I went for like one cake class, then I went for a cookie class, and so it made me comfortable with what I am making without really having to taste it. And to my luck, frankly, believe me, it's just divine intervention, that whatever I was cooking turned out tasty. So it so happened that I would do something in my pastime. I would make it, and I'm someone who just loves to feed. So I would take like if I make cookies, I take a box to office. Everyone eats it. Then someone's mama likes it, and then they order. It's like that. So it just that's how it literally spread. I never had any intention. So my mom still wonders how I cook because she's always skeptical. But that's how it is. I think you do something, and if it sort of rhymes with your personality, you end up doing a good job about it. And whilst I mentioned that I'm a good observer of things, it very easily led me to uh, empathize with people, drifting from cooking. uh, in today's day and age, it's so difficult to be good that probably you don't have to be. But if you're empathetic towards your surroundings, I think you're doing a big deal. And that's where, in the middle of the lockdown, where a lot of reality was sort of, hitting you in your face. I think all of us, some of us didn't want to accept it. Some of us definitely had it so much in the face that we couldn't fight it. Where I realized that, okay, maybe I should do something that helps me understand the human mind better. Yeah. Which is where I did a course in psychology, and I did it from Xavier's, and it was a path breaker for me. Not because I wanted to do any service, it's not that I want to become a counselor, but I think if we make an attempt to make ourselves better, I think we're doing a lot of community service any which ways. So, and I'm not saying that, you have to be very, like, you have to be a clean chit. Dudh ka dhula koi nahi hai. It's fine. The point is, if there is an error and you know that it's an error, I think it's great. Yeah. And because then you work to changing it, you work towards elevating yourself from that error and going and talking to that person and saying sorry. I think all of these, like maybe cooking, see, everything is an art. Even if cooking is an art, conservation is an art, all of it, these are shadows of your personality. So I think we all, like, what I'm trying to say here is your interests come the moment you look within. And I think that's how we should be. We should keep doing different things. We should keep hustling, and maybe weight loss, maybe like going for counseling, maybe cooking, maybe doing whatever, or just taking a trip. Like, I love what you do. I always, whenever I get onto Instagram and I know that you've gone for a trip, I would love to see how you capture things, because you have a knack for it. My stories will never be as good, because you will find me slopping and looking at the sea and saying, this is my idea of chill. But your idea of chill is also helping so many other people identify that there is life more than what you're seeing it. So I think you found that space for you, like I have mine. I think that's how, sort of all these interests come. Yeah.
Thank you so much for such kind words, Neha. It means a lot coming from you. And even I adore the space which you have created for yourself. I love the pictures, the food pictures you post on your Instagram handle, Bites of Therapy. And also, I would like to elaborate, I would like to highlight a few points which you just mentioned about psychology. So, learning about psychology, understanding your own patterns, and even taking psychological help, psychological therapy, is really looked down upon in our society. And but it is so important. It is so crucial for a good life and eventually for a healthy society. But unfortunately, it is not, taken very seriously. Thank you so much for bringing it up. So the next question to you is, what is your opinion about heritage? What do you think heritage is?
Heritage is, I think there is heritage in everything that you see around you, which is, uh, in your eyes, worthy of making a legacy. It's literally that. A plate of food, like a silver की थाली जो मेरी नानी माँ की है, जिसमें मैं आज भी खा रही हूँ, is heritage. Yeah. If so, it's from utensils to a cupboard. Like, if you look behind me, there is a small dresser. Okay. uh, I pick my furniture from Chor Bazaar. I get it home. I ensure there's no termite infestation. I polish it and I use it. A lot of people don't believe in reusing things that have been used because they kind have certain kind of energies. But if you are giving out a good kind of an energy and you're loving what you bought, I think you can change the energy of that. I mean, I myself work with energy. I read tarots. I work with energy. But I believe that uh, every piece of thing that's around you has a certain amount of heritage in it. Of course, heritage primarily in the field of academics, it may be a piece of curtain, it may be a building, it may be a fountain or an archive or an archaeological dig. Yes, these are prima facie what heritage looks like anywhere in the world. But an old pashmina is also heritage. So I think it's very important. I mean, you will be able to conserve or preserve or restore something if you have that eye to know that it's precious. So everything that's precious is heritage. It's literally, as simple as that. And the minute you start looking at things that way, we'll try to do so much. Like, when we talk about heritage, we suddenly talk about sustainability. But isn't heritage sustainable? We were always looking at it that way. Of course, there are certain norms that we might want to look at. We'll talk about green building, understood, yes. But it has sustained for so long, and we are making an effort to make it sustain for, say, another 100 years, then it's heritage. I think, and then that can be anything. So if we put in a little conscious effort, like my mother's saris, I don't let her throw any of her saris or my nani saris or my dadi's saris. Why? Because even if I stitch a dress out of it and it tears after 2 uses, I think it's worth it that I did something about it instead of just letting it die in the cupboard. So the idea of reuse, the idea of exchange, the idea of sort of passing things on from generation to generation is heritage. I think at many times, like I also feel recycling of books is heritage. You own those books. Like I usually do a book sale or a sale of anything that I feel is in excess with me. There are a lot of people who would want to and are fortunate enough to buy things firsthand. But if I own a book, I have used it. It's established that I'm a book lover, right? That means I've kept it well. Then what is the harm if I have a book sale and people buy off it and then they use it? Then tomorrow, maybe, that person's child might read a note from me which said, "Dear Smita, thank you for getting this book from me. And it helped me create some generation of an amount to feed somebody." I think that is also heritage. That note is also heritage. So yeah, I think the idea of heritage is very simple and very clear in my head. And I think we should all make that effort, at least today, the kind of generation that we are. And, we see a lot of newer, courses that have opened up in this concept of heritage, which dwindles around heritage. I think we need to pass that on. We need to be loud and clear about heritage not only being buildings or stones, it's definitely more than that. Yeah.
How beautifully put. Neha, so what roles do you think that a common man and a government can play in saving heritage? We all know that there is a lot of need to create awareness on heritage, but then what do you think that on a granular level and on a broader level, what can be done to save heritage?
There's a very simple concept here as well. It's the idea of ownership. Okay. If you are in your house, are you going to spit there? No. Right? Are you going to litter there? No, you're not. If it is your nanima's utensils, are you going to throw them around and break them? No, right? Then why can't you do the same thing to buildings? Why can't you treat them like your own? If, yeah, so I work with Abha. Abha always says that from the time that you're born in a heritage hospital. From the time you take a train to go to a college in town, you get off at BT station, which is heritage. You get off and go to a JJ or a Xavier's, which is heritage. You go to a cinema theater like Eros, which is heritage. Heritage is all around you. Your city is keeping it for you, and there are people really working hard and putting in a lot of money to save that damn thing. If that's the case, the common man or even the government is expected to just have that concept of ownership within them. The minute you feel that you own it and it's yours, you will damage it less. It's as simple as that. You will think twice before breaking a floor, which could have been of better use had you preserved it properly, or you could have, or a railing which is, made in a beautiful cast iron before spitting on it. If you knew that it's going to be XYZ damage, then you won't do it. It's as simple as that. And like we are not even the kind of people who say that, oh, we want to restore the original facade of the building or the patina. We have gone ahead from there. We are trying to adaptively reuse architecture. We are adaptively reusing buildings everywhere now. That means someone is taking onus of it, someone from their funds is funding for it, and someone wants it to become better. Are they using it for their personal use? Not really. When there are CSR initiatives happening in the city, where a JSW foundation is paying for the restoration of the synagogue or for the restoration of the David Sassoon library, are they going to go and use it as their own space? No, it's still for the citizen. That means there is an aware section of society and there's still an unaware section of society. I think awareness in terms of just being able to tell people, yes, there is heritage, there's grade 1, 2, 3, that's for us to handle, literally. Okay, that's okay, we'll do it. But for the common man who's using these buildings on a daily basis, shouldn't he be proud of what he has? How many people know that, there are World Heritage sites in the city itself? People come and fight their cases in High Court every day. But do they think twice before dirtying the lobby? No. It's us who goes and does the maintenance. And then it's the government who's paying for it. So I think this idea of awareness, maybe maybe through what you're doing, or maybe going a little more local and having newspapers say it, or some kind of campaigns. It's always outreach is like, I think a lot of generations even before us are just crying and crying about outreach being the solution to preserve things better. But I think outreach with a sense of ownership will help it become better.
So amazing. Neha, you always have such wonderful ideas and also practical ideas, and you even verbalize it very effectively. So it's always a pleasure to interact with you. And thank you so much for doing this interview.
No problem. More than happy always.